Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily live get-together here on Facebook every day of the week, 10:30 in the morning, a little later on YouTube. And here is the place where we get together and look at current headlines, questions, ideas, topics, suggestions, tips, any kind of useful, valuable information that we can get our hands on so that we can have a better time enjoying living in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, as a community of English-speaking locals. It is always a pleasure to get together, and particularly today because we have, right, Luna? Actually, Luna's not there, but I'm so used to just doing my Luna move. We have interesting news and stories to share with you today. And today, of course, is Walking Wednesday. It is Wednesday, February 24th. And we're going to have a really, really good time, but not before inviting anybody that is new to let us know that you've just arrived. You can do that by writing the word new in your comments. And you can also let us know if there's something really important that you wish to discuss by adding the letter Q to your comment. And we'll try to get to it during the broadcast if I'm just adjusting my levels a little bit. If we don't get to it during the broadcast, I'll be so very happy to get to it right after the broadcast or during the course of the day. Let us start, as always, by seeing who's in the house. Starting with Bob, it's great to see you. That would be me. Because today we're going to play 6 Degrees of Separation after the walk. You're going to meet a little bit of what Puerto Vallarta royalty is about. We're going to make some connections between a few people that we're going to talk about. And as a result of that, we're all going to be part of Puerto Vallarta history. Just boom, just like that. How fun is that? Eric, it's great to see you this morning. I hope things are going well with the new co-working hotel. Raymond says, Waka Waka, it's Walking Wednesday. I love that. I love that. I used to play Pac-Man in college. Waka Waka. Let's see. Lisa says, woohoo, Walking Wednesday. That's exactly the way I feel. Dan, this walk is going to be wheelchair challenging. So I really hope you and the missus enjoy, you and Kathy enjoy this particular walk. Let's see what else. Well, everybody's here. Great color shirt. Thank you very much. This is one of my comfy shirts. And what this means to me is I don't have to leave the house today. I have to be productive from home. So I want to be as comfortable as possible from early on in the morning. Tapia, how are you guys doing? I remember that COVID hit the house. I hope you guys are doing okay and that things are moving eventfully for you guys. I really hope you guys are in good health. Bill Krask is moving along in the vaccination. That is wonderful. Vaccines for Vallarta 60 plus begins tomorrow. Indeed, we're going to be talking about that. We played fill in the blank. Is there that's a great question. Care to elaborate, Gary? We are all ears, or in this case, we are all eyes. Dave says, buenos días a todos en Pacuatlán. That's wonderful. Um, let's see what else. There is pre-registration for the COVID shots at the sites. That is good to know. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, Thank you for that, Rita. I am talking to them this afternoon. We're going to have a Skype little get together so that we can coordinate. Um, we can coordinate a little get together here with the community. Gary asks, question: is there an easy way to see past Walking Wednesday videos? Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'm putting them. I'm organizing them all so that you can take a look at them. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see what else. Uh, what? No, I'm happy to wait for my turn, Gouda. It's okay. I love it. I love it. No, you know what? I am happy to wait for my turn. I'm taking good care of myself. And, you know, it'll be the time to get the vaccine when it's the time to get the vaccine. And I am at peace with that just because, again, I'm being as responsible as I can be as a human being. And if I get COVID before I get vaccinated, it'll be just out of bad luck because I'm trying to take very good care of myself. So let's see what we have. We have some news. In fact, let's just get going with the news so that we can dive into the fun stuff today. Well, as it turns out, despite what we may have informed yesterday, COVID 19 vaccines for seniors will not arrive in Puerto Vallarta until this afternoon. We are talking about 21,000 Pfizer doses that will be applied to residents that are 60 years old or older through a protocol involving the three levels of government: municipal, state, and federal. Vaccination will take place at 15 locations from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. from tomorrow, Thursday, to March 1st. Once you've received your vaccine, you will be in an observation area for 30 minutes just to make sure that everything's okay. And Mayor Davalos stressed that it is likely that residents from other municipalities will attempt to receive their vaccine, and that will depend on the Secretary of Well-being, I love that, whether these other people that come from elsewhere can receive the vaccine or not. And this same criteria applies to those who are here only on a temporary basis because a second vaccine is required to guarantee success. If you get your first vaccine today and you're moving to Guadalajara tomorrow, then things become a little complicated. Well, let's say they become quite complicated. In a separate article, the 15 vaccination locations are mentioned, along with the fact that the local government is or will be working in coordination with the American and Canadian consulates in the region to ensure that all the information reaches all the people involved. So you're probably wondering, and I would be too, I got into the website and I got my registration and nobody has called me, and I wonder when they're going to call or not, and so forth and so on. Um, you're probably wondering what the fuck is going on, and I would be wondering that too. For example, Troy here asks, where did you see this information? Was told there would not be a pre-registration process at the site by Pam Thompson Webb. And here's where things start getting ugly. Or confusing. Let's not say ugly. Here's the thing, Troy. I get my information from reputable newspapers. And by reputable, I don't mean to say that they are perfect, but these are official news sources. Pam Thompson, a very hardworking lady that I adore, and who must be going through hell and all kinds of levels of misery right now with all the... I did not want to say that word. Now, I'm not going to say the S word. All the colorful questions she must be getting. One thing is what the government says they're going to do, and another thing is what ends up happening. And Pam put it very eloquently in a post on Facebook that somebody shared with me. If you have lived here 5 minutes, things are not going to go the way they told you they were going to go. So this is the part of the story of COVID where we all have to exercise the most patience and flexibility as we can, because I don't have answers, and I'm sure Pam doesn't have answers. I'm sure nobody has answers. But I will post a couple of scenarios that may be inspiring or helpful. If I am 60 plus and I've made a call or have not made a call and have not even registered, but I have my paperwork, and everybody knows what the paperwork is because we've been talking about this over and over and over, I would simply find a way to, at the very least, get myself to one of these places that is mentioned here and go ask what is going on and what is going to happen. Just because nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. So back to answering this question by dear Troy, who says, where did you see this information? This information comes from headlines from newspapers, and you will have access to this information as soon as the show is over, because they're going to be in the show notes as they are for every single episode we produce. As I don't see any other questions about this, we are going to gracefully oh, my partner is currently in the moving line up for pre-registration. Hey, that's good to hear. So that probably means that your partner, Kate, I'm going to imagine, is standing in line somewhere. So again, I hope in this particular case that we as a community will try to rely as best as possible on our own information and so forth and so on. But ultimately, I would just go there. I would just go to one of those vaccination centers and ask, so what's the deal here? Where do I stand? What do I do? Et cetera, et cetera. And I hope you will find a way to stay patient and understanding and flexible through that process. And Kate says correct. So this must mean that, again, Kate's partner is probably standing somewhere waiting in line. And that's what I would do. If I was 60 plus, and that's what I'm going to do when it gets to be my turn to get the vaccine. And with that said, let us dive into the weather. Ooh, where is the weather? Here is the weather. Let me turn off this application, and I think we are good to go. Give me just 1 second. The weather is here. 27 degrees. Feels like 27 degrees. It's Fahrenheit. It's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. It's getting warm again. It's getting warm again, and it's going to continue to get warm. That's the way it happens every year. The humidity, though, is low. It's only 33%. And the weather forecast for today is clear through the day with high temperature of 31, low temperature 19. Tomorrow, Thursday, it'll be mostly cloudy through the day with a high temperature of 30, low temperature 19. And Friday, we can expect a partly cloudy day throughout the day with a high temperature of 30 and a low temperature of 18. Let me see some more comments that I'm seeing appear here. How many shots are available? Michael, I believe I said the amount, and going back to my notes, the amount is 21,000 shots. And let's see what else. These vaccines starting tomorrow do not require that you've registered, but there aren't enough of these vaccines in this new announcement to cover all the people over 60 in Vallarta. So if you don't get the vaccine in this round, you're going to have to wait for the next batch of vaccines that arrive. Again, I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait. I would simply try to be proactive about getting the information and doing what needs to be done. Yes, 21,000 split among 15 sites for distribution, and there are more than 21,000 over 60 seniors in PV. Oh, I have no doubt of that. But also, I have no doubt that other vaccines will become available moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, I want to ask you again, are you sure you don't want to buy a slightly used, state-of-the-art, fully customized presidential plane? The government of Mexico rather, is pretty much done trying to sell the uber luxurious presidential plane ordered during the presidency of Carlos Salinas de Gortari and put to use during Peña Nieto's. Meanwhile, aside from the original ticket price, which must have been an arm and a leg, and then some, the government continues to be slaved to outrageous maintenance costs just to keep the darn thing from going on pretty. 33 million pesos for maintenance so far, plus 286 million for a raffle that led nowhere, and approximately 83 additional million pesos since the aircraft was returned to Mexico. Talk about a white elephant. And speaking of white elephants, it seems like today's leisurely section is all about white elephants, because we have to take a look at Los Muertos Pier to realize that it is no longer this beautiful architectural statement that it used to be, according to Noticias PV. The Los Muertos Pier neighborhood, or people that live around the pier, or Emiliano Zapata for that matter, are demanding state and municipal authorities to answer for the current state of Los Muertos Pier, which continues to be in disrepair. All it takes really is a quick stroll to appreciate how some of the wood chingaderas used in the seating areas is gone, and the base is covered with rust. And of course, one also has to wonder if the residents have indeed complained to the authorities, or they simply let the newspaper know. We touched base on this a few days ago and realized that the fact that you tell something to the newspaper or something to that effect does not guarantee that the government has received a formal complaint. Now, the maintenance of the poor Los Muertos Pier has changed hands from federal to state to municipal government, and everybody keeps throwing the ball at each other. And it is so unfortunate that this beloved icon of our city is going to disrepair. And I love watching your comments about the plane. I thought the plane was already auctioned. Well, Joe, they keep saying that they're almost there, but then the deal falls. And then they're almost there, and then the deal falls. And then there was a raffle. Like, imagine what the fuck would anybody do if you win a presidential plane, you know? Jorge is getting ready to smash his piggy bank. I love it. A former U.S. president. Well, he might be looking for somewhere to live, actually. Let's see. Troy has already registered online. Well, Troy, I would go to the place and say, hey, I already pre-registered. I haven't received my call. But, you know, the bottom line here is I would not sit in my house waiting for things to happen. Let's see. Paul clarifies the responsibility of the pier is the state. And Jorge says, sad view of the sitting area. Yeah, absolutely. It is embarrassing. And it's no different than that funicular cable car that we saw going on the way up to the La Cruz monument up on the hill. I can't find a single thing about vaccines in Nayarit. Anyone have a source? Unfortunately, I don't. And I hope that Nayarit will be forthcoming in publishing whatever they need to do, you know, to connect with the Nayarit population. And this, my friends, brings us to our walking tour today. If you read the pre-announcement, you know where we're going. We're going to El Caloso. We've been talking about El Caloso quite a bit lately, and we're going to do our walk. And then after our walk, we are going to play a little game of 6 degrees of separation, because I'm going to tie some nuts together so that you can have a little bit more of an appreciation of some of our city's history. So brace yourselves, and here we go. Hello. So I was not planning on walking today, but here we are sitting at the Malecón. Right in front of me is the mariachi dancer sculpture. And what we're gonna go do today is head towards Gringo Gulch and then go all the way down to Caloso and come back along Emiliano Zapata. Now, hoy no, muchas gracias. Because we know this part of town, I'm going to dash as quickly as I can all the way. Hola, Javier. Muy bien. Okay. Everybody's buenas tardes. Everybody's trying to make a buck, isn't it? So, as I was saying, I'm going to walk quickly through the main part of the city so that we can get to the lower part of Gringo Gulch and start looking at what we can find there. So let's do one of those quick and dirty zooms. Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're a modern Stone Age family. Okay, so we are now at the corner of Miramar and Guerrero. And just so that you can get a sense as to where we are, if we were to walk this way 1 block, we would be right behind, well, actually right in front of the HSBC Bank. And those red tile roofs that you see in the background, that is the Rio Quale Artisanal Market. But what we're going to do here is we're going to let this car go by, and we're going to continue all the way forward along this street, and we'll show you where it leads after a while.
Yes,
see, a lot of people like walking around Gringo Gulch up on the hill. It's quite lovely. And oh, and by the way, here, as long as we're here, landmark, here is the entrance to the International Friendship Club, and we might as well go in there very quickly so you can see where it is. This is a venue that provides a lot of resources for the local English-speaking community and activities. Obviously, right now they're not meeting, or the business seems to be closed. I don't know exactly what they're up to, but I wanted to show you where their office is within this compound. Also, here is the Prolex, or Prolex, I don't know how to pronounce it, English school, English and French school, maybe Spanish too, I don't know. Anyhow, these are important places, at least for some members of the English-speaking community. I've had the pleasure of giving a couple of lectures at the International Friendship Club in the past. Moving right along.
See, I knew there was Espanol involved as well. And thanks for that tip, Rita. This is helpful information for some, I'm sure. Very true. Absolutely. There's wonderful people involved with the Friendship Club.
There's a lot of interesting architecture along this street. And of course, many old styles homes that were built here a long time ago. And I'm going to point a couple of them.
Anything to keep you guys smiling, Kate.
Check out this label here. This says, Vientos del Río construyó Ingeniero G. Wolf. Well, let me tell you about Guillermo Wolf, because his history with, and his affiliation with Vallarta is legendary. Engineer Guillermo Wolf was one of the folks that were instrumental in bringing the production of the Night of the Iguana to Puerto Vallarta. He is also known for his introduction of the cupola to local architecture.
And I don't remember all the details about Guillermo Wolf, but I do believe that he was in charge of giving the set builders for the movie a very good deal if they came to bring the production of the movie here. Now check out this view. Yay! Right in front of me is the Isla Rio Cuale, and right next to me are the steps that you would take if you want to walk down to the Isla Rio Cuale. And let me take a quick look at them so you can see them as well. And there you go. These steps are fairly new. They were built just a few years ago, and they are designed to create yet another connection for people living in Gringo Gulch to be able to get down into the city. So more often than not, if you're walking around, you walk up the steps or down the steps, and you turn back to where we came from. But what we're going to do today is we're going to keep walking until the end of Gringo Gulch and the beginning of El Caloso, which is the next neighborhood.
Always some maintenance work getting done. Oh, we'll get to him in a little while, Angelica. He's going to be part of the 6 Degrees adventure. You can say that again, Dave. It is because it's a two-way street.
This is a windy road, but it's not a steep climb. There's just a little bit of a hill, and that's basically it. Of course, it's all cobblestone, so you want to make sure that you're wearing your walking shoes, as I am.
Gringo Gulch is right behind El Centro then, up on the hill, and around the corner in this part of town.
Buenas tardes. Believe it or not, this is also a two-way street. So sometimes it can be difficult to know when cars are coming or going. I'm going to stop and wait for that car to come by and take a photograph here. The future of Puerto Vallarta. In the middle of our quaint little neighborhoods, these monstrous new towers that are changing the landscape of the city forever.
Flexi shoes. They're my favorite brand.
Look, another house built by Wolf. This one is for sale. They must want an arm and a leg for it. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes.
And another home by Wolf. Again, his importance is amazing. And I know that there are fascinating articles about he, along with a Hollywood agent whose name escapes me, we're the ones that travel to Hollywood to try to connect with John Huston and persuade him to bring his production here. Night of the Iguana, as you know, was filmed here, and it had all kinds of repercussion for the destination.
totally agree, Lisa. It's the only brand that I'll wear.
And this brings us to the end of Gringo Gulch. At this point, the homes stop and we start entering El Caloso. We have been talking about El Caloso recently because of those towers, or that construction that was supposed to be started along the Rio Quale. Some neighbors complained about it, claimed that it was unlawful. Apparently the construction was stopped, but we don't know what the details are there. What's important to know about this neighborhood is that several years ago, quite a few years ago actually, you wouldn't walk down this street, not during the daytime, and certainly not during the evening. For starters, it was not even paved. Right now, this pavement that we're looking at is even more modern than the cobblestones we just passed. But you would not be wanting to walk along this street. Why? Because this was not the safest neighborhood in the past. But little by little, with more people transforming it, more people moving here, it's become a lot more livable and certainly a lot safer. We hear of a lot of people buying property here, upgrading the property, fixing up old homes and such. And of course, the Rivera Quale condo building came here and, they built the tower. So, again, the neighborhood is a lot more livable. There are a couple of hidden gems when it comes to restaurants down here that have started making good noise as far as Puerto Vallarta's culinary scene is concerned.
Bingo! And we'll get to that in a second. Bravo, Rita, bravo.
So let's take a look and see what we find.
6 degrees, I told you.
Let us actually come this way, and I'm going to try to find the place where they were allegedly building just out of curiosity. But, for example, check out this gorgeous home right here in the corner. This was not there before, and it's a beautiful modern construction. Check it out. Boom. Very nice. So I am walking along the street that I believe is going to take me directly to the building.
Yes, they do, Mary.
Although I must admit, I'm almost more interested. Ooh, rooster. I'm almost more interested in walking along the main road so that you can see it. Let me just take a quick look over here to see what we can find.
Bingo again. We'll get to that in a second.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Okay, so here's the Rivera Quale building. And on this side, we can clearly see the end of the property. So, let us find out where all the fuss was about. Buenas tardes. And if we find it, great. And if we don't find it, we'll go back to the main road.
My pleasure, Bill. He did, but I'm sure he was not the only one, Christy.
I think I may be looking at where the problem was. Let's take a look. I suspect that the work they were talking about was happening here. Now here we see the edge of the property over here, and this piece of land seemingly not belonging to anyone, but the river is right behind it, so this may be the place where they were attempting to build something else. Again, that's not my war to fight or anything, but as long as we were here, I was just curious. Now let me go back to the main street here in El Caloso, just so that you can get a sense as to the neighborhood. But even before doing that, I mean, look at this. There's all kinds of really cute houses.
Always a pleasure, Dan.
Very unique flowers. Oh, you know what? As long as we're here, let us take a photo up there on the hill. There is the restaurant. And as always, when I'm walking, the names of the restaurants escape me, but that's the restaurant up on the hill. We should go up there someday if you haven't. And I'll remember the name of the restaurant, or maybe you will for me. But anyhow, this is downtown El Caloso. The neighborhood has a cute little main plaza. There are some kids' games further up. And I'm going to walk down the sidewalk just to show you around. Las Carmelitas is the name of the restaurant. Duh. Las Carmelitas, up there. That's the highest viewpoint in the city where you can enjoy. Buenas tardes. A beautiful view of the entire city.
I did the walk in less than 40 minutes, Paula. It was not a long distance. I don't remember the exact mileage.
Buenas tardes.
Jan, slap your husband around, serve him a tequila, and get him out of the house.
Hola.
I know, Lisa, it's changed so much. It used to be really kind of scary and spooky, but I was actually quite pleasantly surprised this time around.
So we've been here before. In a previous walk, we came from that point, exploring all the banks of the Rio Quale, and we headed in this direction and continued along the river. What we're going to do today is we're going to walk into Emiliano Zapata instead, because I have things to do in the neighborhood. And if you notice, we were just standing over there taking a look at photographs. So we essentially look at the Rivera Quale building. So we essentially just walked around the block just to show you what's going on. And this was the tree that was plagued with iguanas last time I was here. Let's see if we can spot any. And aha, I see an iguana. Let me see if I can capture it with my little zoom lens, and there it is. And I'm sure there are more of them along this tree. They're just difficult to spot. Ah, there's another one. Let me see if I can get it. One really does have to look for these guys.
There's an iguana in there, trust me.
And this is pretty much the view from this spot. And we can get a better view of that iguana from over here, I believe. Smile, little lady. Or smile, little dude. Okay, so there you have it. Again, in my previous walk, we took a right-hand turn here to follow along the river. Today, I'm just going to continue my way into Colonia Emiliano Zapata, but not without hoping that you enjoyed this walk and that you got to discover a little bit more of Puerto Vallarta along the way.
Cacahuate, peanuts.
Okay, this is a shady spot, and this is probably a good place to say goodbye. Again, it's been a pleasure walking with you, and I hope we get to do this again sometime in the near future. Ciao.
Okay, so that was the walk, and I hope you enjoyed it. But before we leave, I want to connect a couple of fascinating dots. Let's see, Paula would love to see the map again. I'll put it on the show notes, Paula, so that you can see exactly where that went. It isn't actually very easy walk to walk. But let me go back and rewind the tape, not literally, but, I mentioned Guillermo Wolf a couple of times. Guillermo Wolf was pivotal in the development of Puerto Vallarta as a tourism destination because of his involvement with Ray Stark. And the development of cupulas or domes in his architecture became legendary. I mean, when I showed you those labels showing that this is a home constructed by Guillermo Wolf, you are talking about history here, history of Puerto Vallarta. But there are other aspects of him that I'd like to point out. That would be Guillermo Wolf standing next to his young and gorgeous wife, Nellie Wolf. And this is, of course, right outside of Nellie's shop. Nellie used to have a fabulous Mexican chingadera shop right on the Malecon. And actually, before I tell you about her, let me call. Oh, yummy. Anyhow, Nellie married Guillermo, and they had children. And one of their children was Guillermo's son, Guillermo Wolf. And indeed, as somebody mentioned during the broadcast, it was the Wolf family that went ahead and developed El Dorado and other restaurants and other projects around the city. But there are even more layers to all this history, because when Nellie was young, she was living in Mexico City, and I know this story because I heard it from her when I interviewed her. She was young, living in Mexico City, and she was at the Mercado de las Flores in San Angel, and she, boom, met this guy. And she was completely smitten by him. She was a teenager, and she liked him, and she wanted to go out with him, and her parents would not allow for the relationship to blossom. And Nellie lost touch with this man. They did not even stay in touch. But at some point, much later in her life, Nellie's path would cross paths with this gentleman, and they were married many, many years after the fact that they had met as teenagers. And that gentleman is none other than Ramis Barquet, the renowned sculptor from Lebanese descent that came to Puerto Vallarta to live, not even knowing that Nelly was living here. And here we see him standing next to his La Nostalgia sculpture on the Malecon. And if you are wondering who those two characters are, well, those two characters are Ramis and Nelly Barquet, who now, goes by her second last name, his last name. And nostalgia is meant to symbolize all the years that they did not spend together because they had to go on their separate ways. And I'm getting just goosebumps just thinking about this. So every time you walk past the Malecon and you touch that sculpture, you are touching one of the most important histories of Puerto Vallarta history. And there's more to it, as somebody commented during the broadcast. Guillermo's son had a Guillermo grandson, and it is Guillermo Wolf, who is now running his restaurant Barrio Bistro here in Colonia Versalles. So, Angelica, you nailed it. It is a very romantic story, and it is a real story. And when I heard Nelly tell that story to me, and her eyes just glowed. And Nelly Barquet is still alive. She's approaching her, she's close to 100, and she lives in Marina Vallarta, and she continues to be as involved as she can with Puerto Vallarta charities, with Puerto Vallarta culture, and so forth and so on. So this is the 6 degrees of separation connection that I wanted to make sure I shared with you. And as I'm sharing this, my arms can't stop feeling goosebumpy because it is the kind of story that, the papers nowadays seldom take the time to share with other people. So next time you go to Barrio Bistro, it's the kind of thing that you want to take some time and say to Memo how you appreciate his part in the building of the city. Every time I walk down Gringo Gulch and I see those plaques that mention that a certain house was built by his grandfather, Guillermo Wolf, I am always mindful of this particular history. The end. Let me take a quick look at, let me actually cough again. Woo, it's one of those days. Too much fun and laughter. Let me take a quick look at your final comments before we go on. Somebody asked about how do I edit my photographs. What I do is I have a little my video camera is mounted on top of my still camera, and I'm holding them on a stick, and I'm going around filming. And then when I see something that I like, I stop and take a photo. Then I take the photos into Adobe Lightroom, and that's what I use to edit my photos. And then I assemble the photos with the video in iMovie, and I add a little sound effect to the snapshot so that it feels a little bit more authentic. And yesterday, because I had time on my hands, I had time. I don't know if I've had it in me or on me, but I had enough time to go look for my old Hanna-Barbera sound effects CD, and that's where I found my Fred Flintstone's sound effects for your amusement. Let's see what else we have. She also had a place in Plaza Neptuno. That would be her daughter or granddaughter. It is one of the wolves, one of the girls, I think it was her daughter, had a shop in Plaza Neptuno. She now has a shop in Emiliano Zapata. She also had a shop in San Sebastián del Oeste in front of the main plaza, and it was eventually sold. But when Lupe Wolf built the shop in San Sebastián del Oeste, she built an elevator in the shop. So if you walk into one of the shops right on the main plaza in San Sebastián del Oeste, you'll notice that there's a working elevator installed, and it was installed there just so that Nelly could actually go up and down the stairs. Let's say Ray Stark produced a bunch of things, Michael. If one researches his output, he is amazing as a producer. Yes, funny girl too. Uh, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Thank you very much for that. Any connection to the veterinary? I'm not entirely sure because it's pronounced differently. I mean, it is spelled differently. Uh, oh, ooh. Oh, ooh. Thank you very much for that, Matthew. When I meet you in person, I'll make sure to touch you. And I don't mean that in a filthy way. Let's see what else. What else? And yes, she is a she is a sweet, sweet, sweet dear lady. And when she, we all go somewhere at some point in our lives, and when she goes, she will be a sad, sad, sad loss for Puerto Vallarta. Let's see what else. What else? La da dee da da. The best in cartoons. No, Genie. I'm sorry, Bugs Bunny, Warner Brothers. That's my opinion. But Hanna Barbera was absolutely amazing as well. I actually like them both. Thank you for that, Rita. And I hope I answered your questions. I know that it was you who was asking about the editing process. And that brings me to an interesting point. Yesterday, when I was showing the horse photographs, I remember that Michal said something like, not horses, the cows. Michal said something like, uh, well, my cow photos didn't turn out that way, and that is because once you take the photographs, you gotta give them a little bit of love with some kind of photo editing application. If I can recommend something for your cell phone, if you're taking photos with your cell phone, it is a free application by Google. It is called Snapseed, and Snapseed can be found both for Apple iPhones and for the other kind. It is always fun to play with the photos and bring out the best in them. Give it a go. Uh, Douglas asks, "Is there a book chronicling this important family's history?" Oh my God, that is such an important and such a sad question, Douglas, because so much of our world today goes by us, and because it's a history that is happening in front of our noses, we take it for granted, and it's not necessarily documented. So the short story for that is, Douglas, I don't know that there is an actual book that chronicles the wolves' impact in Puerto Vallarta, and it is sad. You could also ask that question of the history of the English-speaking community in Puerto Vallarta, the history of the gay history of Puerto Vallarta. It hasn't been documented. A bunch of people that have been members of the gay community have moved on, and it is unfortunate that some of these histories or these stories get lost. So we do what we can, and we share what we know, and hopefully it'll mean something to someone. Uh, Michael is pushing my buttons with Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc was the voice of so many cartoons, and he was absolutely wonderful. And before we start diving into the rabbit hole of cartoons and all that stuff, I think we are at a good place to stop. As always, I am grateful so much for your company and grateful for your inspiration and your thoughts and your opinions and your questions, because it is all that stuff that builds or that helps us build what we bring to you on a daily basis. If you've enjoyed today's walk, if you've enjoyed the content, remember it is happening only because of your own kindness and your own generosity, as it is you who support these adventures. As always, I hope I'll see you tomorrow, and between now and then, please stay kind and stay happy, and tell good stories and listen to good stories, because it's part of what we need to do to keep these stories alive. Have an awesome Wednesday, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.